My name is James, and I'm 28 years old. I grew up in a quiet town, the kind where everyone knows everyone. My family has always been small but close-knit. My mother, a schoolteacher, raised me with love and care, while my father, a mechanic, instilled in me a sense of responsibility and hard work. Life was simple, and until recently, I thought it would always stay that way. I had a steady job as a graphic designer, a small group of friends, and a girlfriend named Emma. We met at a coffee shop 3 years ago. She was warm, kind, and smart, everything I thought I was looking for. When Emma and I first started dating, I was over the moon. She was perfect, and I could see a future with her. She talked about our life together in such vivid details, moving in, traveling the world, maybe even getting married one day. I felt lucky. I thought this was the love story I had been waiting for. But it's funny how everything can change in an instant. How one moment, you can be basking in the warmth of love, and the next, you're left shivering in the cold, wondering how everything went wrong. It all started with a single conversation, a conversation I never saw coming. It was an ordinary Tuesday evening. We were sitting on the couch, just scrolling through our phones and chatting about nothing in particular. Emma was quiet for a while, which was unusual for her. She had always been the talkative type, always sharing her thoughts with me. But tonight, she was distracted, looking down at her phone, her face blank. "James," she said, breaking the silence. "I need to tell you something." I remember the way my heart skipped a beat. The tone of her voice, the seriousness in her eyes, it was like the calm before the storm. I put my phone down and turned to her, trying to hide the sudden panic building in my chest. "What is it, Em?" I asked, trying to sound calm, though my mind was racing. I've been talking to my ex again," she said softly, her eyes not meeting mine. My stomach dropped. She had been in a long-term relationship with her ex, Ethan, before we met. From what I knew, they had parted on good terms, but I had always been cautious. Emma never really talked much about him after we started dating, but I knew he had a special place in her heart. I had never been jealous of Ethan, not until now. "You've been talking to him?" I asked, my voice shaking slightly, more from confusion than anger. "Why?" "It's complicated," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "He's going through some stuff, and I thought, maybe I could help him. We've been catching up, you know, just talking." "Talking?" I repeated, trying to process her words. "About what?" She hesitated, clearly struggling to find the right words. "About the past, mostly. About things we never talked about when we were together. I just thought it was important, for closure." I sat there in stunned silence. Closure. That word echoed in my head, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was going on. Why would she need closure with him if she was with me? My mind started spinning with possibilities. Maybe it was nothing, maybe I was overreacting, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't enough. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. Emma started spending more and more time talking to Ethan. At first, she reassured me that it was all innocent, but the little things began to change. She'd get text messages in the middle of the night and spend hours on the phone with him, even when I was right there beside her. It was like I wasn't even in the room anymore. I tried to talk to her about it, but she would just brush it off, telling me I was being paranoid. But I wasn't stupid. I could see the way she looked at her phone when she thought I wasn't paying attention, the smile that crept up her face when she saw his name pop up on the screen. It was a smile I hadn't seen in a long time, not for me. I started feeling like I was losing her. Not just to Ethan, but to the past. She was slipping away, and I couldn't stop it. Our relationship, which once felt like a secure and loving bond, now felt fragile, like it was held together by threads. I was no longer her first priority. The worst part was, she wasn't even aware of how much it was hurting me. Every time I tried to confront her about it, she would apologize and promise it wouldn't happen again, but the pattern never stopped. And with each passing day, I felt more and more invisible to her. One night, after a particularly long argument, I decided to do something I'd never thought I would. I went through her phone. I told myself it was a moment of weakness, but deep down, I knew I needed answers. I had to know if I was just being paranoid or if there was something more going on. I unlocked her phone, scrolling through the messages between Emma and Ethan. The first message I saw made my heart sink. It was a picture of Ethan from a few months ago, a candid shot of him smiling at a party. Emma had sent it to him with a simple "miss you" attached. I felt a knot form in my stomach. There were countless other messages like that, small gestures of affection that I had never seen before. It was like they were picking up right where they left off, as if their relationship had never really ended. The second moment came a few days later. Emma had left her phone at home when she went to work, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a little sense of relief. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could get some space from all of this. But when I picked up her phone to charge it, I saw a new notification pop up. It was from Ethan. It said, "I love you, Emma. I'll always love you." I froze, staring at the words on the screen. My heart pounded in my chest. How could she say she loved me when she was still holding on to him? The truth hit me like a ton of bricks. I had been so consumed with trying to be everything for Emma, trying to keep us together, that I had lost sight of who I was. I was scared. Scared of losing her, scared of being alone, scared that maybe I was never enough. I felt like a failure. And the worst part was, I didn't know how to fight for her anymore. How do you fight for someone who's already given part of their heart away to someone else? I started questioning everything about myself. Was I too boring? Too predictable? Was there something wrong with me that made her gravitate toward her past? It felt like I was being replaced, like I wasn't even worth fighting for. I wanted to scream, to cry, to make her see how much this was destroying me, but I couldn't find the words. The worst part wasn't just what it was doing to me. It was the ripple effect it had on everyone around us. My friends started noticing how distant I had become. They asked me if everything was okay, but I could never bring myself to tell them the truth. I didn't want to admit that the girl I loved more than anything was slipping away. My mom, too, could see the change. She told me one evening, "You don't seem like yourself lately, James. What's going on?" But I couldn't answer. I didn't know how. And then there was Emma. I couldn't stand to look at her sometimes, not because I didn't love her, but because it hurts so much. How do you love someone who doesn't love you back the way you need? How do you hold on when they're already somewhere else, in the past, with someone who's not you? One evening, I sat Emma down and asked her straight out. "Do you still love him?" She didn't answer immediately. The silence between us stretched on, and I felt like I was drowning in it. Finally, she said, "I don't know. I love you, James, but there's something with Ethan, something I can't ignore." And just like that, the truth was out. She wasn't sure. I wasn't enough. The weeks that followed were a blur. Emma and I tried to salvage our relationship, but every conversation felt like a step back. I kept telling myself that maybe we could work through it, but deep down, I knew it wasn't the same. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was her. Maybe it was both of us. But in the end, it didn't matter. She moved on, and I was left wondering what went wrong. We ended it quietly, with no dramatic arguments, just a quiet resignation to the fact that we were no longer the people we once were. So, what do you think? Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were being replaced? Or maybe you've been the one caught between two people? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who might relate. It might help someone out there who's going through the same thing. Thank you for listening.